Hello, my name is Gary Clymer, and up until now, all the videos that I've ever produced have been strictly novelty, personal enjoyment, just fun type of things. Nothing of any serious nature that was, all important to my fellow Americans or anything of that large a significance. However, this video is of utmost importance to anyone who's concerned about the times in which we live. The subject matter in this video goes to establish the state of the fascist police state, federally and state-wise, that we now live under here in America. Okay? If you've probably heard thank God for the internet. I'm sure that through the alternative media and people, you have been subjected to people telling you how that our constitutional form of government is being done away with, and that our rights are being done away with, and that basically the large global corporations have totally taken over the federal government and state governments in many states, and we are turning into an entire fascist dictatorship. Now I know everybody has heard that, but I want to make but many times we hear these things, and there's two things that immediately come to mind. One is, what the hell can I do about it? And the other one is, yeah, I've heard it, but life for me goes on, everything is the same. I have not personally been subjected to any of this that I've heard. Anyway, I understand that may be the response for most of you out there. However, I want to relay my recent experience with the fascist police state, and how that as a result of this encounter, I am now fearful. I am very fearful because now I have experienced firsthand the degradation of America into a fascist police state that is bringing down the iron fist upon the populace. Always in my life, I have always been a kind of, I guess, a protester. I've always stuck up for the underdog, and I have not, rather than keep my mouth shut, I've always been someone who would very loudly stand up for the oppressed, and at a disregard of what actually happens to me as a result of my protest or means of protest. Anyway, let me describe what recently has happened to me. When my ears were kind of, I don't know, my ears felt like they do when you go up into an airplane. Boy, looks like I had a pair of glasses or something on there. Okay, anyway. On the 6th of July, I'm going to walk and talk while we're at this. On the 6th of July, I awoke to turn on the TV in the morning, as I usually do, and I don't recall what channel it was on, but there's a radio talk show that's on every morning in southwest Michigan, where I live, with a DJ whom the television camera is in the studio, and you can watch this guy. And he does a lot of political type interviews and, call-in program, that type of format. Well, anyway, on this particular day, there was one of Michigan's representatives, representative from the city of Ann Arbor by the name of Wayne Schmidt. And I'm not going to, it doesn't matter if he's a Democrat or a Republican, because everyone watching this video should know by now that there's no difference between this one-party system that has two faces. Their agenda is the same. They may have a small difference about the way they go about things, but these are both criminals of equal stature, Republicans and Democrats. And let me just say while we're on that point, that the best thing that you could ever do is from now on, when you go to the polls, vote for anybody but a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care who it is. Okay, we cannot do anything at the polls that can put us in a worse mess than what we're already in. Anyway, Representative Wayne Schmidt was on this talk show bragging about how he had been our new governor's right-hand man in instituting the new tax upon elderly people who are retired. Okay, that's one thing that the Michigan legislature has did, is instituted a new tax upon retirees. Also, Representative Schmidt was bragging about being a right-hand man and helping the governor, Schneider, institute this unconstitutional and unlawful state governmental task force that has been established here in Michigan. And what this task force does is, if the government deems the financial status of any city within the state to be in a bad situation, you know, close to bankruptcy or not being able to fiscally meet their responsibilities, this state task force goes into action. It descends upon the city in question. It supposedly has the power and the authority, and what it does is it throws all of the elected officials out of office instantly, and all governmental contract workers who are employed by the government and are represented by a union or are contractually hired to do work for that city government, all those contracts are immediately null and void, and this task force just tells these employees what they're going to be paid, and they can either take away any other benefits or, you know, anyway, they have complete authority to make all agreements and written contracts null and void, and enforce any type of monetary compensation plan that they want to upon these employees and contracted workers. Now, do I need to say more what that is? I mean, how could this possibly happen in America? Many of you may say. It's happening everywhere, people. Anyway, with this being said, as this representative was bragging on this radio talk show, I called in and I said that Governor Schneider was nothing but a fascist, globalist lackey, and that with any luck at all, the Michigan residents would have him recalled in the next year and throw his ass out of office, and that Representative Schmidt, being the scumbag suck-ass he is, the people should drag him out into the village square and shoot him in the head, as I believe should be done to many of our, well, I believe Washington needs to just be totally cleaned out and start over again. All of them need to go. And we have to take action to make that happen. All of them have got to go. They are responsible for everything that's happened in this country. These criminals need to be held to the fire. They need to be prosecuted. They need to be put in jail. And we need to clean house and start over again. Anyway, Representative Schmidt was offended by my comments. And by the way, I did not in any way, shape, or form threaten Representative Schmidt. Okay? I said we, the people. You know, we, as in the townspeople. And what I was referring to was how in the days of old, when we had a king or whoever was the leader of the feudalist type system, when the villagers would revolt and overthrow that power structure, they would take the leaders who had been trampling on them and they would drag them into the village square. And then, as an example to other people, how that this was not going to be tolerated, this type of tyranny, they would invoke punishment on them, you know, whether it be tar and feathering or, you know, whatever, public execution, whatever it was. It depends on how bad the crimes were of the leaders that have been overthrown. But anyway, I made these comments. And I'm under the First Amendment to the Constitution. I'm ensured the freedom to say anything that I feel like. I do not have the right to directly threaten another person, a public official like that. However, I did not do that. But 3 hours later, the state police descended upon my property, and I seen them coming, man. And I kicked my ass for even, going up and talking to them. I should have avoided them. I should have known that any time police show up, there's nothing good that's going to come about it. But I hadn't done anything, and I really thought that they were there probably to get information for some other reason, which I didn't know, and I was curious. So when they drove up, I kind of stopped. I was mowing the lawn at the time, and I kind of stopped what I was doing and looked. Well, they immediately came over and put me into custody and told me that they were arresting me on a very old traffic ticket that had not been taken care of. And then once I was in custody and they had me handcuffed and strapped in, then they proceeded to threaten me due to my what I said to Representative Wayne Schmidt. They told me I was to never speak to another elected representative or elected official, and that I was to keep my mouth shut, and on and on and on. And the person who did this threatening to me was Chris DuPont of the Michigan State Police Battle Creek Post. And I say his name because I want everybody to know it. He should be humiliated and shamed among his peers, because his responsibility was to tell the public official that free speech is covered under the First Amendment, and if he doesn't like what another constituent says, that's just too bad. But instead, he allowed himself to be used as a patsy and acted like a mafia thug enforcer to threaten me for this, telling this elected representative what I did, my opinion. So I was arrested and I was taken to jail, and as I was being booked in, the booking agent told the state police officer that they could not find any warrants or tickets or anything on my record. And at that time I looked at the state police officer and I said, yeah, I said, that's kind of what I figured. And he looked at me and he said, well, I guess we just made it all up, didn't we? And at that time, he had a notebook which he had wrote in pen, and he gave that to the booking agent and told him to enter that information into my record, into the computer. Now, also, something I forgot to talk about was after this process of him threatening me and calling me a domestic terrorist, and I mean on and on and on of ridiculous, untrue things, he called somebody on a cell phone and told them that he had did his part in having a conversation with me about my what I had said. So I don't know who that went to, whether that went to the elected official or some person who is a higher up in the department than him. I have no idea who that phone call went to. But anyway, there was a bond set of $460, and a friend of mine came and bailed me out. So I got out. This was on the 6th of July. I was to appear in court on the 20th of July in response to, well, the paperwork that the police officer or the jail gave me when I was booked in said that I was to show up in court on the 20th of July for a failure to appear arraignment. On the 20th, when I arrived at the courthouse, on the paperwork outside of the arraignment court, it said speeding violation and expired insurance registration violation. So I had done a lot of research on the law and how to represent, myself. And I was out for a dismissal on these charges because they were a farce to begin with, and I wanted my bond back. Well, the arraignment courtroom was extremely full, and every single person, it took about 2.5 hours, but every single person in there was dealt with, and I was the last person in there. I was all in there all by myself at the end, and the judge and the clerk and the bailiff all got up and just left and never acknowledged my presence or anything. And I was upset at that time. I was very upset because I wanted my due process. Well, another official of the court came in there, and I questioned this person on, that I had not been acknowledged and I had not received my due process. And so they said they would go into the judge's chambers and ask status of what was going on. So that person disappeared into the office for a short period of time, after which the bailiff came out, and the bailiff came over to me and informed me that all charges were dropped, but they were keeping all of my bail money. And I could go. And I said, no. I want all that money back, and I want my due process. I want that judge back out here, and I want due process. I want to be acknowledged as a defendant, and I want to be able to represent myself. So the bailiff disappeared into the judge's chambers, and shortly later came out and said that the judge would accommodate me. So the judge came back out, called me up, and he read through a couple of numbers, and then he looked at me, and I started to represent my case that I had prepared. And immediately the judge said, what are you, some kind of lawyer or something? And I said, no. I said, just an educated citizen. And he said, well, practicing law without a license is a crime. and you're practicing law. And I said, I'm entitled to represent myself. That doesn't constitute practicing law. And at that time, the judge said that I was in default, slammed his gavel down, and said he was keeping my money and left. And so that's what happened. I'm thoroughly, I went through the emotional gambit of feelings, from being irate to sad to scared to everything else. This shows the state of what's happened to our country. The court system didn't have a leg to stand on if they went by the law, but this was another case of where it doesn't matter what the law says, the court and the judge just does whatever the hell they want to do, and screw you. And I say it's time to screw them. And they've all got to go. All of them have got to go. This is beyond control. It's beyond belief. I'm not shocked anymore. I'm seeing it happening everywhere. I called the ACLU. I called several attorneys to try to take action on the matter. And all the attorneys just more or less laughed at me. And the ACLU said that I need to chalk it up and put it in my experience file and realize that this is happening all over the country, and that if they did pursue this for me, that all that would be done is all of the necessary files and paperwork would be thrown away, done away with. So there would be no record of the illegality of the proceedings, from start to finish. And there was nothing they could do. They said this was happening all over the country. Anyway, I'm just making this video as one more person whom the tyranny of fascist dictatorship has reached out and touched me. At my level in society. And I guess I'm scared would be my emotion at this point, because if the rule of law and legitimate government is this far gone to where the people have no recourse. It looks like peaceful protest. The peaceful protest routine is pretty much obsolete. That's not going to work. They don't care. I don't know what to tell you to do, but I would say the biggest thing that's important to do right now is that we try to educate all strangers that we come in contact with, and we try to educate them on what's happening. We try to find other like-minded people, and we get these groups of like-minded people together to basically disobey tyranny and the police state, and stick to the law of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and demand that be instituted properly. And I'm just at a loss, but I needed to share this experience, and hopefully it will make you realize just how far we are gone. And it's not the criminal that's going to sneak into your house at night and steal what you have that you need to be afraid of. It's going to be the police officer in uniform that's going to come to your door with guns and break your door down and steal your firearms, and that's coming next. And you need to be aware, and everyone needs to do some soul searching, and you need to find out exactly where you draw your line in the sand and stick to it. This has been Gary Clymer, and I'll speak to you later.